cream in my coffee, or the salt in my stew. You will always be my necessity. I'd be lost without you. You're the starch in my...
After having known each other for only 6 weeks, Alistair and Veronica Wilson had their wedding in 1998. Alistair was a genuine and honest man who was well liked by friends and family. His wife, Veronica, said, referring to their marriage, "He was one of those people you met and you just knew. It all happened very fast. When he said he'd be there at 8 o'clock, he was there at 8 o'clock with a bunch of flowers too. It was very nice having somebody who just instantly cared so much." In the early days of their marriage, Alistair was a huge golf fan. However, as the couple had children, his priority became being a good father, and he had little time for his hobbies. The family's home overlooked a Scottish beach in the town of Nairn. Overall, life for the Wilson family could be described as very pleasant, if not a bit boring. Nairn was a quiet town with little going on, which makes the murder of Alistair Wilson 6 years later all the more shocking. On the Sunday night of November 28th, Alistair and Veronica Wilson are getting their sons ready for bed when they hear the doorbell ring. The Wilson family this weekend happens to be looking after a friend's 18-month-old child, and as such, Veronica assumes the parents have arrived to pick him up. Though she's aware they usually come in through the back door, she assumes it must have been accidentally locked and heads downstairs to let them in. However, standing on the doorstep in the dark of night is a man. He simply says, "Alistair Wilson." While Veronica is certainly surprised by this, she has stated to police that she didn't feel particularly scared or uncomfortable by the man, even to the extent that she leaves the door open as she heads to go get her husband. Veronica's assumption was that the man had something to do with Alistair's job as a banker, and so she goes to grab him. Alistair at this time is reading to the children, so Veronica takes over while he goes to speak with the man. While at the door talking to the man, Alistair's conversation is witnessed by 2 bystanders who happen to be standing across the street. However, they did not hear what was said, nor did they see the man's face. The conversation is believed to have lasted a couple minutes, after of which Alistair walked back inside the house, closing the door behind him. As he walked back inside the boys' bedroom, Veronica noticed that Alistair was carrying a bright blue envelope, which she says was the type to come with a birthday card. Written on the front of the envelope is the name Paul. Alistair was very confused by this and asked Veronica if she was sure the man had said his name. She told him she was certain he did, and according to her, Alistair was extremely puzzled but didn't show any signs of fear. Most confusing, upon opening the envelope, they found that it was empty. The couple began calmly discussing what to do, if anything, and decided to put the boys to bed. However, before doing so, Alistair decided he wants to make sure the man is still not on their porch. In reference to this, Veronica has said, "There was no fear. Otherwise, I wouldn't have let him go back downstairs." Leaving Veronica upstairs with the children, Alistair went back down to the porch where the man was still standing. After a few moments, Veronica hears a loud sound from downstairs that she describes as sounding like wooden pallets falling to the ground. Running downstairs and outside, she finds Alistair lying on the ground. Thinking he had been punched, she runs over to him to see a large amount of blood. Alistair had been shot twice in the head and once in the chest. Looking up from his body, Veronica sees Alistair's killer simply walking away from the scene down the street as casually as though nothing had happened. Alistair was still breathing when found by his wife. However, an hour later, he died in the hospital.
He just went back downstairs, and shortly after that I heard the bangs, and just instantly reacted. I didn't, as I say, there was no reason to think it was gunshots, but I did. I just left the boys in the room and I ran down, didn't say anything to him. I just ran down, and he was lying in the porch. I don't know how soon it was, till I ran down. And obviously I knew he was lying, so he was hurt. But when I got to him, he was just covered in blood. I don't know. It seems to have all been over in seconds, but I don't know, the time scales of when you're standing there. but it was obvious, it was so serious, there was just so much blood. So I ran back into the house, back in to get the phone. But this time the boys were wondering because they could hear me screaming. So I shouted for my dad, and my dad met me in the middle floor. And this time I'm on the phone, but he takes them through to a room. I just say, Alistair's been shot, take the boys away. So he did, and I go back down and phone the emergency services. But I'm just looking at Al, thinking, I didn't know what to do, and I'm just going through the formalities of where.
The man who killed Alistair Wilson was described by Veronica as white, stockily built, with a dark baseball cap pulled down over his face. She says he was clean-shaven, wearing a dark blue bomber-style jacket and dark jeans. He was 35 to 40 years old and 5'6" to 5'10". If you're wondering what happened to the blue envelope, it hasn't been seen since, so we can only assume the man took it with him. There are many questions as to its role in the killing. Who is Paul? Why was Alistair handed the envelope and allowed to go back inside his home safely? Police have speculated that perhaps Alistair was demanded to put something into the envelope and return it to the man, though this is just one theory. They also considered the possibility that it was a gang-related killing and that the purpose of the envelope was to get the name Paul into the media coverage, as to send a message to someone. Despite the many theories, the police had no further evidence to go off of. That is, until 10 days later. Nearing 3 p.m., council worker Andy McMahon and his colleague are about to finish their shift. Working on Seabank Road in Nairn, Andy is cleaning around a drain near a church when he decides to take a look inside to make sure no tar had fallen in. Catching his eye is what Andy believed to be a toy gun due to its tiny size. However, after retrieving the gun with help from his colleague, they come to find that it is very real. It happens to be a 1920s Heinel Schmeiser semi-automatic, also known as a pocket pistol. After tests, it was confirmed to be the murder weapon used to kill Alistair, and it stood out as this particular gun is fairly rare in the UK these days. Despite this find though, still, again, nothing ever came of it. The police were no closer to finding out anything about the murder. Many theories include Alistair having a potential dark secret of which not even his family knew. However, Veronica is confident that this is not the case, saying she's convinced that had Alistair survived, he would not have been able to tell her why he had been targeted. There is some speculation that possibly the wrong Alistair Wilson was murdered. There happened to be another man of the exact same name living only a few minutes from the Wilson family home. However, he passed away age 60 in 2017. A man only referred to as Peter called into the police in 2016 saying he had an idea of who killed Alistair. However, his story is said to have holes, and while not completely disproven, it didn't go anywhere within the investigation. It may seem like this is a case that will never be solved, but the Scotland police have recently reopened investigation into this, so hopefully we can get some answers eventually. Additionally, in October of last year, Alistair Wilson's son opened a petition to find his father's killer.
Hello, I'm Andrew Wilson, the son of Alistair Wilson, and on the 28th of November 2004, someone came to our family home on a Sunday evening while my dad was putting me and my brother to bed and reading us a bedtime story. The next thing that I remember from the night is looking at my dad lying in the doorway covered in blood. I was only 4 years old at the time, my dad was 30. After that though, no more bedtime stories, no more playing football or helping my dad in the garden. My dad and I missed out on so many things together. He showed me how to tie a tie, driving lessons, or even taking me for my first legal play. I'm now 20 years old with little answers regarding my dad's death. For the last 16 years I've been left wondering why my friends all had a dad and I didn't. I still not can believe that someone came to our house, shot my dad dead on our doorstep while my brother and I were upstairs. The only memory that I'm left with of my dad is the image of him lying on the doorstep. Photographs are all me and my family have, and no family should suffer the way that my family has all these years. So I'm appealing on behalf of my family for anyone who has any information at all, no matter how big or how small, please come forward. Someone out there knows something, and it could be the witness and information that we need that's crucial for the case. Nothing can bring my dad back, but knowing who did this and why could give myself and the family the closure that we deserve. Any information.
I want to thank each of you for watching and let you guys know that Volume 3 of Genuinely Disturbing Things is on the way. Thank you everyone for all the support, and I'll see you guys in the next one.
Knocking on heaven's door.